one breath, I've heard the governor say that they've cut taxes by about $4.9 billion. And he's used this offset argument for a couple budgets now.
Right.
So the offsets seem like they've been there. The other thing is, I mean, you are the governor. You're submitting the budget. So if those are the parameters you want to set out for yourself, then do it and find the offset somewhere else. But this is a core function of government. And to say that we simply can't afford to keep our interstates that are 65 years old, some stretches, that we can't repair them, that's just not, that's kind of a sad message.
Well, talk about, you know, obviously there's the inconvenience factor of it, and none of us, and when I talk about Verona Road here in Madison, you know, this is a stretch that's heavily traveled,
right.
Commuters, truckers.
But the inconvenience factor, I mean, Verona Road, you know, those businesses have done a great job, and they've banded together to help people navigate it and get through, and they're surviving and thriving. But the fact that you know, it was delayed a year, they said in the last budget. This, if passed, they say would be 2 more years. It really means indefinitely, because it's just saying we're not coming up with the money now. 2 years just means that in 2 years we're going to have to see whether we're going to do it again.
Right.
And, you know, businesses like that, whether it's Verona Road or across the state, they need some certainty, and they shouldn't have to be languishing in projects that just drag on forever. Like, you know, I sat on, there was a Transportation Finance and Policy Commission, 10-member commission that was appointed by, I was one of the governor's appointees, as was the gentleman from Schneider National Trucking. And they said they're willing to look at paying more gas tax because, and they pay a lot with these trucks because the condition of the roads are so important. No, they don't like the idea of tolls, but they said they are willing to look at paying more gas taxes if we're going to be assured that it's going to go into the roads. And so that constitutional amendment that passed in 2014 that now requires that when we pay the gas tax and registration fee, it goes into a separate transportation fund and constitutionally has to go into the roads. That was important to them. But they said as long as there's that assurance that they'd be willing to pay. But when you talk about lobbying interests, which are made up of people, of course, what's fascinating right now is for the Farm Bureau, for Wisconsin Agribusiness, for the Tourism Federation, for the timber producers. This is all for the realtors have said that they want something done on this. You know, there's a lot of the parts that represent the major parts of industry in the state are calling on our legislators and the governor to do something for. You know, Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce last time put out that they would be supportive of a gas tax increase and registration fee increase. So, you know, there's pretty widespread support.
And I know that, you know, the governor has put out some numbers recently saying we already pay the 11th highest amount in taxes towards roads in terms of the gas tax, that our roads are maintained at this much more level. But, I mean, you kind of have to take half of the country out of that equation, don't you? Because, of course, we're going to spend more on our roads than anybody in the Sun Belt, than anybody in the Southwest, because the wear and tear from the winters, you can only really compare apples to apples, and that's other Midwest or Northeast states, right?
You know, that's a great point. The Wisconsin Taxpayers Alliance, who doesn't have a dog in the fight on any side, did a study a little while back, and they did compare Wisconsin to other cold weather states versus warm weather states, and I think that's probably the accurate way to do it. The other thing is there's really 2 user fees that we pay that go into a separate transportation fund that's different. It's the registration fee we pay when we pay $75 to the DOT to get our sticker, and it's the gas tax we pay. Those are the 2 user fees that go in for transportation. You really have to look at both of them together. And if you do, we are in the bottom third nationally of what we pay in user fees, and we're way lower than any of our neighbors. Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan, Illinois all pay much higher user fees, about 60% higher than we do.